The Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild is huge. No, like really huge. There's so much to see and do that I'm sure many of you still haven't explored every part of Hyrule yet. But in your travels, you've likely come across different areas that seem oddly familiar. And no, I'm not talking about obvious ones like Death Mountain, the Lost Woods, or Zora's Domain. What I have in mind are some of the more obscure references that can be found on Breath of the Wild's map. Let's take a world tour starting with the Easter eggs of Zelda 1, Zelda 2, A Link to the Past, and Link's Awakening. First up is one of the more memorable Zelda callbacks. One of the bridges in Breath of the Wild is called the Dig Dog Suspension Bridge, which refers to Dig Dogger enemies from the first game. But that's not the only bridge named after a Zelda enemy, as there's also the Manhala Bridge. We think that this could be a connection to the boss Manhandla. The names are incredibly similar at the very least. And nearby, there's another bridge called Aquame, as well as a lake, which, similar to the Manhala Bridge in Manhandla, is likely a reference to Aqua Mentis. On the same note, there's a Gama Cove, which may be connected to the boss Goma. It feels like more of a stretch than the Manhandla reference though. Finally, there's Spectacle Rock, which has appeared in multiple Zelda games, but it did originate in the very first. What's odd though is that Spectacle Rock is usually located near Death Mountain, but that's not the case in Breath of the Wild, where it's actually closer to the Gerudo Desert. Next up is the Zelda 2 Easter eggs, though we admit this first one may be a bit of a stretch. There's an Angel Peak in Breath of the Wild. This may be a very small callback to the trophy item from the Adventures of Link because it did resemble an angel. Again, this is very loose and may not be the case at all. But then there's the Karak Bridge, which might be named after the Karak enemies from Zelda 2. The names are incredibly similar at the very least. Then we have A Link to the Past. While there are obvious winks to this one with Kakariko Village and Lake Hylia being the first time these famous locations appeared in a Zelda game, we want to focus on the ones you may have missed. There's Sahasra Slope, which in all likelihood was inspired by the character Sahasrara. The other one isn't nearly as solid though. Breath of the Wild features the Bank of Wishes, which might be a callback to the Waterfall of Wishing in Link to the Past. But maybe we're just wishing for a connection, but surprisingly, that seems to be it for the references to this game, unless we're missing something. However, there seems to be a lot of love for Link's Awakening when it comes to naming locations in Breath of the Wild. There's Gopanga Island and the Gopanga Village Ruins, which are likely named after the Gopanga Swamp from Link's Awakening, the Connalet Ridge, based on Connalet Castle, and Koholint Rock, which we think is based on Koholint Island, the setting of Link's Awakening. But that's not all of them by a long shot. After all, we still have the Mabe Prairie and the Mabe Village Ruins that may take their name from Mabe Village in Link's Awakening, though obviously it's unlikely that the Village Ruins is the same place from that game. There's also the Tabal Woods that could be a reference to the Tabal Wasteland, and naturally, Tal Tal Peak is taken from Tal Tal Heights. Tama Pond, though, is one we're not exactly sure of, as it could be a reference to Mount Tamaranch since it does have the same route, but it may also just be a coincidence. There are 3 other locations likely named after places from Link's Awakening. The first is Tarambo Beach, as the Tarambo Shores were the first place Link washed up on in Koholint. The second is the Ukuku Plains, which takes its name from the Ukuku Prairie. And finally, there's the Yarna Valley, which is named after the Yarna Desert. But we're not done with Link's Awakening yet. Those are just the locations named after places from the game. There's also the characters. First is Martha's Landing, and we believe it's named after Martha the Mermaid. There's also Mount Taran and Taran Pass that could be named after Marin's father, Taran. And speaking of Marin, there's a Malin Bay. Now, this could be named after Malin from Ocarina of Time, but because it's close to the water, we think it's based on Marin from Link's Awakening. The final location named after something introduced in this Game Boy Classic is the Rock Woods, which we believe are named after the rock's feather. Naturally, this is only the beginning. There are a lot more references to the Zelda series in Breath of the Wild's locations, so join us next time as we look at the references to Ocarina of Time, Majora's Mask, Oracle of Ages and Seasons, and Four Swords. Thanks for watching, and be sure to subscribe to GameXplain for more on Zelda and other things gaming.